Welcome back to Switch to Linux. We are going to be looking at this issue of Firefox and paid accounts. Several different journalist sites have been taking various time to talk about this issue, and I've had at least a dozen people ask me about it. So we're going to dive into this. What is going on? Is Firefox all going paid? Let's go ahead and dig through all of this. Now, the original article that this came from was from a website, and the thing was entirely in German, so we're not going to link to the original website. But that was from who was it? T3N3, I think. I don't know, something like that. I can't remember. But since I don't read German, I wanted to go ahead and look through different sites, and this one here from iProgrammer actually had the best summary of the conversation and cleared up as much. So first, before we dive into this, if you remember about a year or so ago, a little over a year now, I did a video saying, can we trust Mozilla? And the bulk of that video is as Firefox was updating through this Quantum series, what they would do is they would aggressively go back and change your search engine settings and reset Google as the default. And so StartPage had a blog post on it, as I use StartPage as my web browser, and they had a notification on their screen basically saying, hey, if you update, make sure you go back in and rechange your search engine settings. Now, the reason that they did that is that Mozilla gets a lot of their revenue. In fact, the vastest bulk of their revenue comes from search revenue. When you do a Google search on Firefox, then Firefox gets some of the ad revenue that Google presents. Is there an inherent problem with this? I don't think so. If you choose to use the Google search engine, and they're providing some money. Also, I think they said Yandex also gives them some money. So that's actually a great way if you want to help support Firefox and Mozilla is to use Google or Yandex. Would I recommend that? Probably not. Use StartPage, use DuckDuckGo, because privacy is a little bit more important. And so they're experimenting with other ways of making revenue. So they did a experiment a few months back. This is back in October, and I covered this on the channel to some degree, where they were detecting if you were on a public Wi-Fi doing something that they sensed was a little bit probably more security orientated, and they were pushing a Proton VPN. Now, Proton VPN is a good VPN. So if you wanted to get a VPN, the only reason I don't have an affiliate link for them is they don't do affiliate programs, which is actually a good thing. But they were experimenting with selling services through Mozilla. So for $10 a month, which is a lot of money, you could get a very good VPN, and that revenue would be shared with Mozilla. And so they experimented with that. And so that is what they're looking at doing. So they're saying that by fall of this year, fall of 19, they're going to start adding more of these paid options into their system. So what they are doing now, first and foremost, we want to make this clear at the very beginning. Everything right now that Firefox does for free will remain for free. That is what the CEO has said in the interview. And as long as we can trust Mozilla, then that's going to be the case. And so he talks about it. So this is a quote from the article, translated, of course, into English. The experiment is also important to Mozilla's future. We believe that innovative, vibrant, and sustainable Mozilla is critical to the future and open internet. We plan to be here over the long haul, to do that with confidence, and we also need to have a diverse sources of revenue. So in other words, what they're saying is right now we are too reliant on Google, and we need to find a way to support ourselves that's not Google. So either you guys, we as a user base of the browser system can start making donations, or we can use Google, which I don't recommend, or we can look at some of these other paid services. Is this a good thing? I don't know. I don't use Firefox as much anymore because I think Firefox has forgotten who their audience is. We're going to dive into that in a moment. But what he does is they talk about another source of income that they have is this Pocket program that I don't particularly care for this one either. What Pocket does is that as you are browsing through the internet, Pocket on your computer and they say that they don't send any data back to Mozilla, again, it boils down, can you trust them or can you not trust them? According to their statements, and I don't have any evidence to the contrary, Pocket doesn't send any information, but what it does do is it works on your system to curate what it thinks are recommended lists based upon your browser history. That's why I always uninstall Pocket. I don't want anything that's doing that kind of stuff. Now, does this mean that I'm not supporting Firefox in any of the ways? Probably. I would rather just give a little donation to them as I can. Or maybe turn it on and say, hey, this might be a good way to help support them. As long as the data is truly not being sent, it's not a major deal, but still I'm a little uncomfortable with it personally. Maybe I should be wearing my other hat for this. But anyway, so basically they're talking about the three sources of income. Search, they say they also want to make content, and that's where Pocket helped them out with that. And the third one is thinking about products and services. So one of the articles that I was reading, which I was not able to find that again, and there's really no detailed information from Mozilla at this point in time, is that for a subscription service, you are going to get a VPN, you're going to get cloud storage, and I think one other feature, I forget what it is. So if you wanted to pay for such a service, you had that. Now, for me, I look at all this, and this is why I think that Firefox has forgotten who their target is. You see, when it comes to web browsers, there's very few options at this point in time. Things are either Firefox or based on Firefox, like WaterFox and a few other ones out there, Pale Moon, or based on Chromium base. Of course, Edge is now going Chromium based, dropping their rendering engine. Safari is its own thing, but you know, who uses Safari? The 1% of the people using, the 4% of people using Mac, you know? I mean, but outside of that, almost everything is based on Chromium, and that in and of itself is another challenge. It is another problem. But most people are simply sheeple, and they use whatever's handy. They go Chrome because everyone likes Google Chrome, or they use Edge or Safari because they're sheeple and they just do what's easy and what's pre-installed. And that's what most people do. So who's not using Chrome? Who's not using Edge? Who's not using Safari? Those are the people that say, I'm going to take a cognitive step towards security. Well, what's Mozilla right now doing? Oh, they're just telling everybody. That they want you to create an account with Firefox. So there's a way to protect your privacy. Join Firefox. I'm sorry, I just had a rash wave of cognitive dissonance hit my head. Because let me tell you something, people. The best way to maintain your privacy is don't put it on the internet. Okay? Firefox doesn't have my passwords. Firefox doesn't have my browsing history. Firefox doesn't have my bookmarks. Firefox doesn't have any of that stuff because I don't create an account on Firefox. When you create an account on this, it's just like creating the account on Chrome. It stars everything. Now, they're going to be storing less on Firefox than they do on Chrome for sure. But still, I don't want to create an account. And most people who cognitively choose to get rid of the other browsers and go to Firefox are people that are more security and privacy minded. They don't want to create an online account. And so this was actually their most recent blog post as of the time of recording this video. The world needs can be ours again if we want it. And this entire thing is about companies tracking, and we're going to do more by default. But then what do they want to do is they want to push you into creating a Firefox account. So one of the things that they said in this article is they're talking about privacy policies. And let's see if I can find that spot again. I got to find it here. They're talking about how you go into all these things and you have these huge, massive privacy policies, and I should have highlighted it in the article. About trading privacy and control to others, tech companies have put the onus on people to read through their opaque terms and conditions tied to your data and privacy to their services. The average privacy policy from a tech company is thousands of words and written at a level that requires legal training to interpret. Okay, so with Firefox wanting people to create an account, let's go ahead and have a look at Mozilla's privacy policy. And note we find it's not as long, it's not written in legalese, but it is so vague as to be openly interpreted to anything you can do. What do we mean by personal information? Anything that identifies you, name, email address. Any information that falls outside of this is non-personal information, which, by the way, would be a violation of GDPR, because an IP address, which they openly admit to collecting, is considered private data according to GDPR. Okay, so you have to understand that. Any information falls outside is non-personal information. That is not the case. An IP address is. If we store your personal information with information that is non-personal, we will consider the combination as personal information. If we remove all personal information from a data set, then that means the remaining is non-personal, like the IP address. So how do they learn information? When you give it to us directly, when you choose to send crash reports, which is enabled by default. Let me give you a little pop-up screen you can easily ignore. We collect it through our products and services when your browser checks to see if it is up to date. Someone tells us information about you. That's an interesting one to me. Someone tells us information about you. I don't consent. Now, it says the example when Firefox or Thunderbird works with your email providers to set up your account. But that's a little nebulous. So when we try to understand more about you based on information, this one's another one. This is what Facebook does, people. They have some information. They want to see if there's more, and they go out and they buy records from Equifax, or is that Equihax? Inspirion, you know. They try and understand more information based on what you've given us. You see, they have the same policies. It's not written as in legalese. It's not as long, but it's equally vague and does the exact same thing. There is no difference between Mozilla's privacy policies and Google's privacy policies. All right, what do we do with the information? Once you've given it, we use it in ways in which you've given us permission. Generally, we use it to help you Generally, we use your information to help us provide and improve our products and services for you. For users in the EU, EEA, and Switzerland, see here for more information. So there's more information there. When do we share it? When we have asked and received your permission to share it, for processing or providing products and services to you, but only those entities receiving your information are contractually obligated. When we are fulfilling our mission of being open, so they're going to talk about some of the data. When the law requires it, i.e. if police come knocking on our door, we have this information about you because you've given it to us, you've created an account, we'll give it over. See, this is no different than anything else. What do they want you to do? Create an account. Now, going back full circle, is Firefox going to these paid accounts? No. All they're doing is providing extra add-on services. But all of these add-on services, these are these third parties that they're sharing data with. So when you're buying these services with these third parties, not only Mozilla, but also the third party is gaining access to all of these different things. This is why I think that Firefox has forgotten who their target audience is. People who intentionally ditch Chrome, intentionally ditch Edge, intentionally ditch Safari to go to Firefox are more privacy-minded people. They don't want to create an account. They don't want to pay you for extra services. They want to keep their life disconnected. So is this the deal breaker for Firefox? Absolutely not. It's just some extra add-on services. Are they going to be pushing their add-on services to you and wanting to get you things and basically sell you ads to their browser? Most likely. And this is a problem. This, though, is why, for a while, I have been using Firefox as my primary browser rather than Firefox. I just don't really trust Mozilla as much right now. They're going the same way that all the other companies seem to be going. They want to collect data. They want to harvest data. Now, is it good that they're trying to make a little bit of income? Absolutely. And if DuckDuckGo were to give them a little bit of their revenue, I would switch to DuckDuckGo if StartPage didn't share it. I don't know all of the odds and ends about who all they have deals with. I like the fact that I can, if I do a search term on Google or Yandex, they get some of that money. That's fine. Unfortunately, I don't use Google or Yandex. Pocket, maybe I'll turn it on if it helps them make a little bit of money. I'm okay with that. As long as it's demonstrated that Pocket never sends any information out, but I don't know. Knowing what I know about the net, I'm not really trusting. And then they have these third-party services. Yeah, it'd probably be a good way to help support Firefox. Am I a customer? I'm not. Those are kind of my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below.